Sorry, did you guys hear me burp? Anyways, so wait, can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? I hope y'all can hear me. So today we're gonna play Narcissu or Narcissu. I don't know how to pronounce this game. I hope nothing crashes. Okay, let's get started. This is a window capture, by the way. Notes. Let's check out notes. Oh, okay. 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 Oh, there's sound. There's sound in this game. Okay. Oh. Extras? Okay. Okay. Oh, the sound's gone. Is that supposed to happen? Okay. Select title. I'm confused. What do I do? What do I do? I don't know what to do. Wait, what's Agilus GP32? What? Okay. Voiced.
眩しかった日のこと、そんな冬の日のこと。
Okay.
確かに。
This game is very loud, so I'm turning down my volume. Certainly, since I was a child, I wasn't on the healthy side. Even so, I went to grade school normally. During summer vacation, I played until I was tanned very dark. June, soon after entering middle school, the day after, we ordered swimsuits for the swimming class that would start next month. That time was the first time I experienced being admitted into the hospital. Just a little before the semester midterms, a day where the rain had started to felt awfully cold. In the midst of that pure white sky of the rainy season in the beginning, everyone in the class came to visit me each day. And when I was discharged from the hospital during the weekends, they would come to my house to play. But that was the beginning. Fall came, winter left, hospitalized, discharged, outpatient care, and then started again with hospitalizations. Housemates who once were called friends at some point became acquaintances and then turned to strangers. With each turning of the seasons, it seemed that I was disappearing from their memories. Looks like it makes them comfortable. For those who live normally my very existence. That's why I seem to have been lost. Oh, she's talking, sorry. Numerous seasons, white overcast skies passed without even the need to exchange words with anyone.
私の英語の教科書は1年生の中間テスト以降まっさらな状態だった。
My English textbook from my first year midterms onwards remained brand new.
そこで私の時間も止まったらしい。
It was there. That my time seemed to have stopped. A years later, 2004, early summer protagonist. Summer flowing sweat. In the driver's license examination area, a large electronic bulletin board was installed. All at once, lights came on, and like everyone else there, I searched for my own number. 237, 237. Scanning amongst the closely lit light panel, I found my own examination number. Ka-thunk, ka-thunk. Because it was just past midday, the train car was quite empty. In that empty car, I was on the way home from the examination center. In my left hand was the traffic regulations manual I had just received. In my shirt pocket was the brand new license. With this, I'm also normally licensed. I murmured somewhat seriously but didn't feel any particular strong emotion. It's not like I wanted to drive cars, nor did I really have another purpose in mind. I forgot the tweet that I'm streaming. Okay. It's not like I wanted to drive cars, nor did I really have another purpose in mind. It was just people around me were going to the training center and had recommended that I at least get a driver's license. That night, when I reported to my parents that I had gotten my license, "Is that so?" was the short reply. As an experiment, I tried saying that I wanted to borrow the car, and just as shortly came a "you can't." It wasn't like I had wanted to drive the car, but the response were exactly as I imagined. They were those sorts of parents. The next day, upon waking up, my chest hurt, and so I was taken to the hospital. Normally, I had little to do with things involving sickness. That wasn't why waiting in the initial waiting room felt extremely boring. Finally, just when I thought the examination was over, this time I went to take x-rays and blood test was made to go. On top of that, for a long time, I was made to wait in boredom. Without noticing, I had finished reading 3 books of Jump, manga that was in the waiting room and was reaching for a 4th. Just like that, I was made to do the paperwork for being admitted into the hospital. A brand new driver's license that still lay in my shirt pocket. It looked like the time for its debut was a ways off. Okay, autumn 2004. Around when those very noisy cicadas had stopped crying, as usual, I was in the hospital. Of course, it wasn't like I was always admitted in the hospital. I would be in and out. Last month, I had my first experience with surgery. After being discharged, I commuted 5 minutes for outpatient care by scooter. And even from then on, admitted, discharged, outpatient care, gradually moving to being admitted again. I didn't know anything about PET or IRESA, but I noticed through the comings and goings that a number of months had passed. In exchange with my decreasing appetite, the types and amounts of drugs increased. Even I could see with my own eyes that my strength was declining. My legs felt a bit thin, but that's not your imagination. The needle on the scale would tell me. And yet I was looking at myself somehow objectively, as if watching a stranger, like looking at a single scene on television. The sudden things that happened to my body, my head couldn't keep up with them. The feeling that what was happening was real didn't arise, and so even though it was supposed to be my own body, I could only watch myself from afar with cold eyes. Winter, around when Christmas trees were disappearing from the streets. Perhaps it was due to it being the end of the year, but I was allowed to return home. The end it seemed to be only temporary, but even then I was a bit happy. In a mix of rain and sleet, I returned home for the first time in a while. For some reason, everyone in the family gathered. Even though my parents normally didn't speak much about being a bit stiff, they smiled at me. The little sister who I was argued with made my favorite cream stew and fried shrimp. We sat next to each other in the kotatsu. They peeled mandarins for me. They were excessively kind. That was the impression it left. During this time, I had just a bit of a realization. Still left in the pocket a brand new license. That license, without giving rise to any practical value, might expire. While having stiff, unnatural smiles directed at me, Calmly, vaguely, rather simply, I thought of that as if thinking of someone else. January 2005. The new year came and I returned again to the hospital. For some reason on that day I didn't go to the 4th floor, but instead to a conference room was made to go. There was my father and a doctor heard many things, was made to listen. It was that thing called notification, probably. They had an extremely indirect way of speaking, but in the end it seemed like I was going to die. I see. That was why I was only able to reply with that. I couldn't find other words. But when I entered, I left the room. That was all that I said. Accepting my answer, the doctor moved the ballpoint pen in his hand. Most likely it was paperwork for the hospice. To the very end, he was very businesslike. My father was very much the same. It was such a simple thing. That was my honest impression. And then between that day and the next, I changed from the 4th to the 7th floor, from a 6-patient room to a single. Also, the 7th floor itself was a bit different from other floors. One thing, the floors were sparkling, the ceilings were much higher, more broader. Inside the rooms, it was extremely clean. The large windows seemed designed to let in a lot of sunlight. However, the windows only opened a tiny bit. When I tried measuring, it was just slightly smaller than allowing your head pass through. The other thing was the color of the ID bracelets changed. Since the day I was admitted, a vinyl bracelet was always wrapped around my wrist. Upon it was a name and a blood type. That color had changed from blue to white. High ceilings, wide vinyl bracelets, windows that could only open 15 centimeters. The day I was transferred to the 7th floor, it was when the boring New Year's programs were still being broadcast. The time I met her for the first time was also the very beginning of the year.
Narcissus. 冬7階
The 7th floor. Across the hall facing the nurse's station was a lounge-like place. In that unpopulated place was a number of sofas, folding chairs, and a large television. On that 28-inch CRT, a meaningless New Year's program was running. Watching that boring television was an equally bored expression with some girl. She had a small build and wore pink pajamas. Her wrist had, just like I did, a white bracelet. Hair that was to her hips left an impression. Hey, is that interesting? There wasn't any particular deep meaning. Since there was no one around, I tried speaking to her profile.
別に
That was all that she replied with. She didn't even turn towards me, even though I had spoken to her. Perhaps she had absolutely no interest in me. She continued to gaze at the television with a bored look. If it's boring, you don't have to watch it. As I thought that, I also sat down in a folding chair, and sitting next to her, I gazed at her at the television. There was nothing else to do, nothing else I could do. Is this game just reading? Quietly, we continued to gaze at the television. On the screen, there were the usual New Year's programs, pathetic impersonations, and parlor tricks. Occasionally ringing out, the host stupidly high-pitched laugh in the pure white sunlit room and dryly reverberated.
ねえあなた
Say you. Suddenly the girl spoke to me while still gazing at the television. You're on which time?
No.
Which time? What does that mean? Coming here, the 7th floor. Sorry, I don't understand the meaning of the question. I see it's your first. It seemed that at my inability to understand what she was saying, she had up and gotten satisfied with that judgment.
じゃあ
Well, there's no one else around, so it's my duty. Duty?
そういうルールなの
There's that kind of rule. While nodding, she added that there is a rule for someone to teach people who first come here to the 7th floor. Even now, I understood nothing. And as if ignoring me, the girl slowly began speaking.
それじゃあ
Well, listen closely, alright? The girl's words came by ones and twos. They were slightly different compared to the doctor's speech that I had heard up until coming here. In that business-like speech from the doctor, it was said that this was a place to await the advancement of medicine. It was also called a place for healing the heart. Most likely, broadly speaking, that was probably correct. However, from what the girl said, that was a facade. The 7th floor was within the hospital, but it was the only place that didn't give treatments. Simply a place to wait for the end of life. That's what the girl said. That's what I also felt and had the same perception.
私
I'm on my second time, you see. Second time, what's that? Coming to this place. And the girl taught me this place called the 7th floor to be here from the moment of admission all the way until dying. First of all, apparently didn't happen. Even if being cured was impossible, your health becomes better. Then they would allow you to go home once. But after a while, and it turns bad, and once again you come back. Among those comings and goings, eventually you die. The place where life ran out, it only differed between home and the 7th floor. Without fail, one would die in either of those. It seemed no one has ever escaped that. It was with that meaning that the girl had meant by saying it was her second time.
じゃ
Well, I'll only say this
あ
once.
一ここからは
So from here on, listen well. Still looking at the dull screen, the girl continued speaking even more. The subject being not about what the time the lights would be out, and the normal sorts of topics exchanged between the admitted patients. She taught me about totally different things. On the 3rd time you're given a temporary discharge, prepare yourself. There's never a 4th. You won't be going home anymore. There's a time that you want to run away. Go not to station A, but towards station B. Don't eat anything, that's the shortest path. It will end with the least burden to your family. It was only full of these sorts of topics that gives one pause. Most likely it was something only for the people who came here. Though just for those who participated in moving towards death, there was the things that have continued to be passed down. Was the duty you mentioned earlier this? Yes, that's right.
いつかあな
Someday
たも
you'll tell it to newcomers too, okay? With those final words, the girl slowly stood up. Gently, her long hair swayed and brushed the tip of my nose. Well, it's time to take my temperature, so. And then just like that, with the back facing me, she began walking towards the hall. I was left alone in that place with the laughing boys from the screen and the white flowers decorating around the window. In the end, the girl never once looked in my direction. Man, I'm annoyed at reading this and my stomach hurts. From then, when a few days had passed, finally the New Year's program ended, and soon the 3rd terms of middle and high school would be starting. Today in the lounge, once more the figures of the girl and I were staring at the television. It's boring, isn't it? Indeed. The word came back in reply, but both of us were conversing while continuing to gaze at the screen. Hey, is this place always like this? I don't understand the meaning of your question. I meant now there's no one around. Nurses, doctors, and add to that helpers. You take them out, then aside from your own caregivers, I've never seen anyone else. I guess it's because it's the New
そ
Year's.
の理由を知り
You
たい
want
の
to know the reason for that? No, it's not like I meant
じ
that.
ゃあ言わない
Then I won't say. An exchange that was even a conversation. Tommy Hort, yeah. An exchange that wasn't even a conversation, we indifferently exchanged back and forth. A slight breeze came from windows that couldn't open more than 15 centimeters. Occasionally, it would sway the girl's hair out, and in the same way, it swayed the white flowers decorating around the windows. The two of us, while watching the boring television, were only spending days passing time. Oh, the two of you were in a place like this. Saying that while rushing up was an elderly nurse. From just glancing at the nurse station once in a while, this person seemed to be the chief of the 7th floor. So, Satsumi-san, you don't have a fever? It's alright, I don't have one, said Sumi. Apparently this was the girl's name. You can't be roaming about outside without permission anymore, okay? Alright, everyone gets worried. That doesn't really matter. My what kind of statement is that? Really, girls these days, there's just no helping them. And for a while more, the nurse continued scolding. To that the girl called Satsumi let it go by with an indifferent expression. As if ignoring this somehow noisy nurse, she continued watching the boring screen. Well, later I'll be coming to take a blood sample, alright? With those final words, once again the nurse returned to the nurse's station. Hey you, I can call you Satsumi, right? Wrapped around the girl's wrist was the white vinyl bracelet. While looking at the blood type and name there, I asked, is something wrong, Satsumi? Why is there no honorific? What? Even though you're the younger one. Hey, why is it that I'm the younger one? No real reason, I just thought so. It wasn't that I was upset at the word younger. It was just no matter how you look at it, one would believe I was 5-6 years older. That's why I took out that license that it was my chest pocket and showed it to her. How about it? Even though I look like this, I'm 20, you know? Like I thought younger. With just a glance at the license, the girl only gave that reply. Hey, I don't really get it. It doesn't matter, does it? It's only just a bit older. As always, the girl spoke softly with no expression. Those eyes, while looking at the boring television, I felt like they were also looking at some place far away. When the morning temperature taking ended, I got into the elevator trying not to be seen by the nurses. Coming to the first floor, deliberately passing through an entrance for outpatients, and I just kept walking out of the hospital. The destination was the place I thought I was taught before, not the nearby station A, but the far station B. It wasn't like I was planning on running away. The 7th floor home. There was no one who died outside of those two. Before that was what I heard. It also seemed that girl called Satsumi had also gone many times to Station B. That was why, for no reason, I simply felt like wanting to go to see that place once. It's not like there are guards around. Even so, as residents of the 7th floor were different from other admitted patients. Also thinking about but maybe I continued walking on the street to the early morning stationery. Man, reading about medical stuff and having my tummy hurt, they just don't go together. I don't know. I'm sorry. Glancing at hurrying commuters and people going to school, I slowly moved on at a measured pace. After walking a while, taking about 25 minutes, I finally arrived before the station. In terms of bus stops, it was about 4's distance. In a way, there was quite a bit of people around. That was the impression upon seeing Station B. Because my clothes were pajamas, I stood out somewhat. However, if just like this I bought a train ticket, I felt could, without a single problem, go anywhere. Why was it not Station A, but this Station B that was recommended? I didn't know. However, if one were planning to run away, I thought it was a simple thing. Certainly, the girl was also supposed to have come many times, so that's why. But why was it that she still remained in the 7th floor? Even now, I wonder. Early morning before the station, while watching the people hurrying, suddenly that thought occurred to me. That night, after lights had been turned off, holding onto a book of manga, unable to sleep, I wandered around the ward alone. Normally wandering around after lights out would get one scolded badly, but us residents on the seventh floor, were given a relative amount of freedom. And with the lights off, the usual lounge was pitch dark. There I saw her figure. Hey, today you're looking outside. In the dark room there was a response, but that face remained looking beyond the window. Immediately I started talking about what happened during the day. That reminds me, this morning I went all the way to the station, just like you told me. I went to see Station B. I see, but the girl's response was no different from the usual, because she was supposed to have gone before. I thought that there might have been some kind of reaction, but thinking about that as well as how she still remained here, did it mean that she really had no intention of running away? I'll soon be able to go home. Suddenly the girl opened her mouth, words as if she had seen clear through my heart just now. So the next is the third time after all, so we might not be able to meet anymore. Alright, that's right. Most likely when she said that she would be able to go home, she was thinking about a temporary discharge, but in this place called the 7th floor, being admitted more than 3 times, it apparently never happened. Especially unlike the elderly, when considering the rate of progression of disease, it was even more so for younger patients like us. With that kind of meaning came the words, "We won't meet again." Say, which would you choose? Choose what? Which one you plan on dying at? Suddenly hearing the words death, my words caught for just a moment. Oh, I haven't thought about it yet. I see. Well, you're still on your first thought. The girl spoke in a lonely murmur. Of course I knew even I couldn't be here forever. Like everyone else going in and out of the hospital, slowly weakening until someday in the end, either this 7th floor surrounded by thin smiles, it would come to a choice between those two probably. I don't want home. I don't want here either. Then what will you do? Nothing in particular. I won't do anything. I'm still able to walk on my own. I'll just go somewhere. Even though it was obvious that if one wanted to run away, one could. This still remained on the 7th floor. When I thought about that, do you have some other place to go? You want to pull me back, Perhaps you want to come with me? No, I didn't mean it like that. Then don't ask. While gazing out at the window, the girl spoke indifferently. I need Amanda HUGNKISS. Where can't I find Amanda HUGNKISS? I don't know. Kiss autism. While gazing out the window, the girl spoke indifferently. As always, it had been a conversation where she did not even look in my direction. However, just that time, I saw her usual expressionless profile seem sad. I might stream for an hour. My stomach really hurts right now. Thought that the 3rd temporary discharge would be the first time I have come to the 7th floor, then a girl who would soon face her 2nd time. For me, I still couldn't really feel the things that were happening in reality, but someday would I also come to make such a face? From before dawn, rainfall, occasionally also changing to either sleet or snow, it lightly continued coming down. Within that, I was in the usual place watching the television. As always, this 7th floor was devoid of people. Is it interesting? Nope, boring. The girl came from the other side. Exchanging only those words, she quietly sat in the folding chair next to me. And then today also, the two of us began gazing at the television. So surely the girl was also the same. Wait, can I? I was making sure I could save. Surely the girl was also the same. There was nothing else to do, nothing else she could do. Surprisingly, she responded to something on the television. Something the matter? Not particularly. The words were the same, not particularly, but it was a response. That was different from usual for the girl. Becoming interested, I turned my eyes to the screen. what was on the screen was some kind of nature scene. On a beautiful hill, trees and flowers blended into a landscape. And focused on the screen were a great many white flowers. They were flowers I remembered seeing before. They resembled the white flowers even now decorating the room by the windows. Are those the same flower? Aren't they exactly like those? While speaking, I pointed first at the screen and then towards the window.
種類は同じだけど
They're the same kind, but strictly speaking, they're different. Giving just a glance at the flowers by the window, the girl once again returned to gazing at the television while answering. To say the truth, even if she denied that they were the same, to me, I didn't know the difference between the two. And anyways, for me, whether the flowers were the same or different, it didn't really matter. Instead of that, the girl normally would never participate in conversation. The girl surprisingly continued with her work. That was why I'd also tried to maintain the conversation. Are you maybe knowledgeable at autism? Moi. Are you maybe knowledgeable about that sort of thing? Not particularly, really, but I can't tell the difference. The white flowers bloom beyond the screen, the flowers in the vases beyond the girl's profile. While vaguely looking at both of them, I continued further with my words. So these are orchids or lilies. Look, they've got a whitish color, right? Even though I had no interest, I managed to continue speaking. However, the girl soon became like usual and fell silent. With her usual expression, she only gazed on the boring screen. And when I had given up on the possibility that she would take up the conversation, I once again began to move my eyes back to the television.
ナルキッソスナルキッソスよ
While answering for the first time, she faced me, swaying her waist-length hair while pointing at the flowers shown on the television. She looked at me. Just like the flowers displayed on screen, there was a white vinyl bracelet wrapped around her wrist with white skin. The first time I saw that face, I thought I saw the briefest of smiles. Okay, we're done with chapter 1. I don't know how long this game is. But I really want to quit because my stomach really hurts. So I think I'll just save. We did prologue in chapter 1, now we're on chapter 2. Okay, I'm so sorry. I have to quit. It's pretty short. Oh, I see. Yeah, sorry. I really need to like not do this. I'm sorry. But okay, thank you for coming to the stream, guys. Yeah, my tummy hurt. Okay, bye.